Diego's in Bogotá, so we thought we'd take advantage of us both being here at the same time to come to the National University and check out the country's most important bird collection.
Yeah, Instituto de Ciencias Naturales is like one of these institutions that is like a chapel for all biologists. So coming today to visit Andrés Cuervo. Do you know Andrés?
Yeah, Andrés, we've birded together.
Oh, there you are. We're going to learn a little bit more about collections, how they make you a better birder.
And also the lessons that we can learn from them to how to conserve species in the future. There's
Absolutely.
a lot of misconceptions about collections. A lot of people who think that, a few birds taken out of their habitat is a terrible thing. But actually, what we're going to learn from Andrés and what we know already a little bit is the technology that we now have that allows us to study these specimens means that we become better conservationists and actually protect these species.
Every specimen is like the epitome of a given species or form of population. There's no other way to understand a bird pattern, plumage, genetics, or link that with voice than to having a particular specimen that you can compare with other specimens. And I have to say, these specimens are not collected at the very same time, at the very same place. They're distributed across different localities and different times. For instance, this specimen that I have in my hand over here was collected in 1947. And so the accumulation of information such as this is irreplaceable. If it were not for these specimens and for the ornithologists that study them here, compare them like feather by feather, measuring and going to the field, vocal analysis, behavioral comparisons, this diversity would be hidden for us.
A lot of people see this number of birds on the table and they see a lot of birds, but actually in terms of the natural mortality rate of populations, the other factors just killing birds, wild cats, deforestation, all these different things, actually this is a drop in the ocean, right?
This is just a minor sample of birds, compared to other causes of mortality. Do you have from the top of your mind one case of conservation where having specimens in a collection has been critical to save a species?
Of course, absolutely. The Colombian Grebe, when it got extinct in the 70s, in the mid-20th century, it was a common bird of the plains of the Cundinamarca and Boyacá. It was relatively common, but it was kind of hidden by taxonomic bias. It was considered a form of a species that distributes in North America.
The black-necked grebe.
Correct. And then actually, it was deep into the mid-20th century that Mayer de Chauncey, a famous ornithologist that worked with Colombian birds, described it as a distinct subspecies of that form. Nobody knew about it. It was like a surprise for many of us, for the ornithologists that studied it. It was obvious that it was a common bird. But all of a sudden, it was like a sharp decline. So I hope that's a learned lesson. For what? Not only for acting quickly and having these well-established programs and strategies for conservation, but also to support signs that allow us to get rid of taxonomic biases that might be hidden, the items that we need to pay attention for.
A lot of technology that didn't exist then when this collection was made, this is from 1945, now exists. And so now you can study these birds, the DNA, the feathers, and actually maybe even figure out why they went extinct.
One of the cool things of coming to a proper scientific collection is that you can compare, like hummingbirds. You can have stuff as crazy as, Encifera, the sword-bill hummingbird, the bird with the longest bill compared to, in relation to the body size. You can have very straight, tiny, long bills and super decurved bills, all adapted to different sources of food.
It's one of the crazy things you can do in collections like this is get a real sense close-up of the difference in size, the incredible size variation that exists in the avian world. So here we have, just to illustrate that, I think probably Colombia's smallest bird, right? One of the wood star hummingbirds, on top of, I think probably Colombia's largest bird, the Andean condor. Quite remarkable. I mean, this bird is not even the length of the bill of this condor.
Uno muy bacano es este monstruo, con sus espolones, que además hay dos. ¿Quién sabe pensar que esto es pariente de un pato? Son las cosas locas también que tiene la biología, ¿no? Pues
miren, arpía. Esta arpía. Qué animalote.
Mucho más grande.
Casi los dedos de Diego.
So one of the amazing things about collections like this, and one of the reasons why they're so important and still, are super important these days, is that, for example, if you look at these four birds here, until 2 years ago, these were all examples of the same species, Rufus and Pitta. Now, we're looking here at 3 different species, some of which are endemic to Colombia, because thanks partly to studies of skins like this and DNA and songs, this one species, Rufus and Pitta, has been split into multiple different species, which not only is sort of great news, for birders who want to see new species, but primarily for conservation.
We are all worried about endemic species, like really tiny species, like this Cundinamarcan pita or this chestnut-capped piha. These birds have really tiny ranges, right? So we need to worry about it. But it is well known that even common birds are declining. So even the most common widespread birds are really interesting, and we have a responsibility to understand these changes before they actually materialize.
How many birds of how many species are represented at this collection?
We have about 43,000 specimens of 1,700 species. This is about 85% of Colombian birds represented in the collection. And for the people that are more closer to bird watching, hardcore bird watching, ornithology, they just, you can knock on the door. But we have also these kind of exhibitions and storytelling about birds for the general public. Bring your field guide, bring your photos, let's compare, let's learn together.
Aquí las especies que hay de cínclides.